Greetings, everyone. Today, I just like to share with you three wonderful students that are part of the CSI program with STEPS. I am your host, and I am Tony Wells, and I'm so glad to feature these three top-notch students today. First, we have Miss Yamanuchi Estime, and she is a junior majoring in sociology at UMass Amherst. And then we have the wonderful Miss Lily Saki. She is also a junior and she is attending Wentworth Institute of Technology, and her major is architect. And we have none other than Mr. Richard Desir, and he comes to you from Dartmouth College. And he is a sophomore majoring in computer science. So I'm so excited to be with you guys today and to share your stories and your journey through steps to success. So basically, I'm just going to ask you some questions and we're just going to kind of shoot the breeze and just have a good old time chatting about the wonders of your journey in steps. Okay. Um, First, I would like to ask you guys share how each of you became involved in the Steps to Success program. What grade and what program did you actually first start in once you got into steps?
So I got involved in Step Success because my sisters, who are much older than me, because I'm the youngest, they were a part of Steps when they were in the fourth grade. And so that's how I just got an idea of just like, what is this program? And like, why can't I go? Because I'm too young. And so when I got into the fourth grade, I was introduced by JT Lennox, and he was like, "Oh, there's like this program. It's called Steps to Success. You can start here." And then I think the first program that I was ever a part of, I'm pretty sure it was called Step Up, and it's when all like the fourth graders meet every Friday, and we talk about like discussions and things about steps, and basically get to have knowledge for it. So that's how I got involved.
Wonderful. Thank you, Yama.
I can go next. Like Yama, I started in fourth grade. I also met JT. In my middle school, there was a couple of us, and I think at some point he met with us, and he started telling us about this type of programs and about steps a little bit. And I think the first program I remember joining was a summer camp at Pine Manor College. A group of us, we took a school bus over there and we met with some of the college students and we did some activities and it was really good.
Wonderful. Thank you, Lily.
And I also got involved with steps in the fourth grade. I was introduced by Sarah, and I remember just meeting with other kids. I think through the step program as well. But that first real program where everything clicked for me was After Hours U, AHU, in sixth grade, and that was really where I just created the most friendships and created lasting bonds with people that I still talk to and share laughs with today.
Wonderful. Definitely sound like all of you had such a great start to being a part of Steps to Success. Thank you so much. Next question. How did your educational journey continue in Brookline as you went forward?
For me, it was really just like realizing how important uh, education after high school was. And that didn't necessarily click for me until I think really sixth grade when one of the assistant teachers who was also a part of the AHU program, Jackie, was telling us about her experience in college and what she'd been doing and how it had been going for her and how she was managing not only steps and like working with us after school, but also her classes. And just the passion that she had for both was something that I kind of took with me and was like, okay, once I'm in high school, I'm gonna like go as hard as I possibly can to make sure that I have the best opportunity in college and really give myself that experience that I knew I could do something really impactful for my younger siblings just because I'm one of the elder siblings. And so there's always that kind of example that you need to give. And that's something that I took with me. And it's really impacted me today.
I 100% agree with Richard in terms of that. Like, I think what really clicked for me was finding out that I was the first generation college student. So like I thought it was just like my older sister, but it's actually including me and all of my siblings. So the fact that like my mom and dad came from Haiti, because that's where I'm from, to give us a better education, that's where I was just like, all right, there are people out there who do not have this opportunity and who do not know what STEPS is or probably don't have a program that's a part of them. So the fact that STEPS was able to give me like these opportunities, going on these trips and getting to really implement in my head and saying like, you can be successful one day. It doesn't matter about what you look like and what the color of your skin is, that you can get there and we can help you get there. That's when I was just like, all right, so let me use these resources and like make my way up.
Nice.
And going off of what Yama and Richard both said, having these programs, especially when we're young, was also helpful to prepare us for high school, especially the after school programs and some of the community stuff also.
Absolutely. Thank you guys. Um, Hearing you guys talk about those experiences and that kind of pivotal moment that happened for you guys to know, oh my God, my education is the utmost importance to me. Like it is a way for me to move from one stage in my life, to the goals that I've set for myself for the future and what I want to do and what I want to be. What to you stands out? What was that thing that kind of stood out to you as a being a part of Steps to Success from that time up to now? What has like really stood out to you guys? And I'll start with Lily.
For me, it was definitely that sense of community and family, growing up with the same group of people, and then us helping each other out, and especially with the advisors also was really helpful. And then also involving our family members and siblings also.
Mhm. Thank you.
Lily touched on this point of having that sense of community. And in Brookline, it can be really difficult for first generation students, like Yama had mentioned. I myself am one. And it can be really difficult in Brookline where there aren't as many faces that look like us to really feel that you have that sense of community um, going through school. And so Steps was really one of those places where every time I walked in, it wasn't a question of, am I going to feel comfortable in this space? But I just knew, like, anytime I walked into the office at the high school or anytime we had AHU, there would always be people there that I could really open up to and just fully express myself and not feel any sort of pressure at all in the slightest. And that's just something that I think really was invaluable to my experience in high school. And it's always something that I think about today.
Mhm.
Yeah, I 100% agree with both of their points in terms of community. It was like a family. And you know how like family have like their good times and their bad times. So it was like we're holding you accountable, especially with the advisors. Like if you did something wrong, they'd be like, come here, we need to talk. Or like, good job, you did this. Like we worked on this. And I love the fact that you guys were able to do that for us and just be like, I'm gonna be real with you. Like it's not easy out in this world and we're trying to prepare you for it. And that right there really actually helped me progress, helped Lily progress, and I'm pretty sure helped Richard progress too as well, which was amazing. Spot on.
Wonderful. Absolutely. It sounds like all of you kind of touched on the idea of this community and this idea of bringing into that community those shared experiences, like all of you, being in like BHA housing, like what are the ups and downs, what are the things that are challenging, and what are the barriers of living in such an affluent town, but yet you also see those things where there is this educational gap, where there is this economic gap. How did you guys um, reconcile with that, having to understand that, yes, I'm a part of this town, I am here. What is it that kept you guys motivated to go forward, knowing that there were all of these barriers and all of these differences that you had to face as students in Brookline?
I think you touched on it. It was the fact that we had these like challenges in front of us is what kept me pushing, because I was just like, well, if they're successful, because they have the privilege and I don't, then I'm going to push myself to have that too, because I want that. And I guess I stopped, for me in high school, my junior year, I stopped like saying, comparing myself to be like, well, they have this and how am I going to get this? I think that's when you really know that you want the stuff that you want, when you stop comparing yourself to other people and stop comparing yourself to the stuff that they have. Like, they have all this money and I don't, and I have to work extra hard to get it, and I have to get, take these classes so they can see that it's not just about my skin color and that I can do this. I think it's also surrounding yourself with people who want the same thing as you as well. And like me, just, sometimes when I had a rough day, just being upset, comparing myself yet again in high school, I would go to my friend who's just like, okay, we don't have these privileges. What are you going to do about it? Are you going to work extra harder than they are? Or, are you just going to continue to be in this slump and just be like, oh, I feel sorry for myself? And those are the people that you need to encourage you, to keep pushing you, and to be honest with you as well.
Wow, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you.
And going off of that, I feel like living in those areas also made you feel like you were in a separate world, but then steps also brought you into a different world that gave you a leg up. So it felt like even though you felt like you were behind or missing some stuff, they were still pushing you and giving you the emotional support to keep going and supporting you.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, I really think it is that aspect of self-determination that Yama mentioned, where you have this support system behind you, but you also have that determination in yourself to know that I can do this, and no matter what stands in my way, like myself along with this community of people that are around me and these advisors that are supporting me, we're going to do it. Like, we're just going to make it happen. And that's something that honestly is it's just magic. It really is.
Wonderful. It definitely sounds like you guys tapped into that understanding of, like, there are these challenges, there are these barriers, but we have this program to kind of help equalize the setting or equalize the situation that I'm in. And that is up to me to intrinsically take on the role of my own self advocate, but also knowing that I have this program to really have my back and showing me the different things that I need to do in order to prepare for the next level or the next level of journey that I'm have to go on or embark upon. So it sounds like you guys took advantage of the program in the right way. So I love that. Thank you.
Most definitely. I did take advantage of it, because I think one thing that steps taught us, and I know Richard and Lily, you know what I'm talking about, is the self-advocating part. Like, if you see these resources, what are you going to do? Are you going to go get it, or you're not? And I think the best thing about steps is that they're not going to force you to do these things. They'll encourage you and influence you to do it, but it's actually up to you, because that's a way for you to grow up in this world, to be like, all right, well, I have these advantages or these opportunities. Am I going to take them? So I really respected that about steps.
Absolutely. Wonderful. Okay. Now we've heard about your journey from fourth grade, or the grade that you started in steps, for your pre-K through 12th grade journey in steps, and then switching over to making that decision to go to college. Um, I've always been curious to ask all of you, in terms of, once you made that transition into college, and you've heard of the imposter syndrome, and with that, tell me if when you experienced that, or if you even experienced that while in college. Like, I don't belong here. This is too much. Like, I, I don't, communicate or act or whatever with, the other students. Did you all experience that, or not?
Yeah, I definitely experienced that, especially transferring to a PWI. It felt like I was from a different background. So even though I was doing the same thing as other people, it felt like I was doing a little bit more just to catch up. And remembering that other people are also feeling the same way was really helpful for me.
I mean, I go to one of the most privileged schools in the country. Like it just it's like almost impossible to sometimes I think of it as like there are just all these people from all over the world all in one place, and it's almost impossible not to feel that like how did I get here? Like why am I here? Regardless of like all the determination, all the experiences that I've had, um, there was always, I think, definitely that sense of, do I really belong? But just through the people that I've met and the experiences that I've able to have with them, I know that yes, I do belong, and yes, it's difficult, but there really is that sense of I'm contributing as much to their experience as they're contributing to my experience. And I think once people can understand that, they really can find that sense of, okay, this is why I'm here. This is what I'm going to do. And all these people here are part of that journey as well. And it's really been a great experience and a true eye opener just because there are so many kids from all of these different private schools that pretty much mold and shape these students to become the best. And like coming from a public school where like I had the assistance and help to get to where I am, but it it can feel like you're a fish in the middle of the ocean sometimes. But I know that I can make it happen, and it's really been such a fun journey so far, and I can't wait to see where it goes.
Absolutely.
I 100% agree with Richard. I mean, the first time where I was just like, I know I'm not supposed to be here was my freshman year, first semester. And I was in my geometry class. I don't like math. And I was just like, what am I doing here? Like, I can't even do this. And like, I felt like things started crashing down. And the one thing or the one problem that I was, dealing with is I hold things inside. So I wasn't even reciprocating that back to steps. I wasn't telling them what was going on until they found out later. And I think the one thing that ended up helping was the people in my community that graduated with me. So like me and Lily's year, I stayed in contact with a lot of people, and they're just going through the same thing, and we're just pushing each other, saying like, you can do it. And the best part too was the fact that the advisors, even from high school, Tony, everybody was texting us saying, you guys can do it. Like, you can do it. We're going to have these meetings. We're going to come up and we're going to visit you, and like basically speaking life and saying, you belong there. And I realized that I was like, I want the things that I want in my life. I belong here. It doesn't matter about anybody else. Like, I'm here for me. I'm not here for anybody else. I'm here for me.
Absolutely. Wonderful, wonderful. Um, and it sounds like you all have found your stride. You understand that it is an art to being a student in college. Like, you have to immerse yourself. You have to own the campus. Like, that's why I always push and push and push. Get involved. Join an organization. Join a club. Not just to about beefing up your resume, but about finding your people on campus and finding that community that is going to push you to greatness, that's going to push you to that place where you're trying to go or trying to get to your ultimate goal of earning a college degree. And that takes all of those individuals, yourself advocating for yourself and moving forward. So thank you guys. That's awesome. um what are your professional aspirations? um you're in college. What is it that you see yourself doing? What are your aspirations professionally? We start with Yama.
I'm all over the place, but I think for me, one thing that I know that I'm really good at is talking and getting to know people. So I was just like, well, what are my talents? I took my talent into working with people in social work. I think social workers do not get the right recognition of helping people. They do so much. And the fact that I was able to have resources that I couldn't get without asking for help or without my family asking for help, I want to do the same back for another family. I want to work with so many families to help them with the resources that they need in their lives, to make their lives much better, much easier, to relieve stress, to be honest. And I think social work would be the ideal field for me, just to talk and, get to know different people and their families, and just knowing and getting this type of knowledge of the world from different backgrounds, and seeing how they live, and seeing how, well, this is the resources that I got when I was a kid or when I was going through college. Let me give that back to you. So essentially giving back to my community.
Wonderful. Thank you, Yama.
I'm very similar to Yama. I also want to give back to my community. Majoring in architecture, I realized that there are not a lot of people of color in that field. So I guess it's become like a sort of mission to, once I finish my degree, opening my own firm to include more people of color, and then also reaching out to communities of color that are struggling with their architecture, and just making that a better environment.
Absolutely. Thank you, Lily.
It's been really interesting to try to find like what I really want to do and why I want to do it. But so far, I've really seen that informational technology is where I want to go, and just really helping people understand this thing that they have in their pocket, their phone, what they carry in their backpack, their laptop, really can change their lives. And I think the ultimate goal is to really help other people of color and other students to really understand the impact that technology can have in your life if you use it the right way. And it can just be from the point of starting a business and how to set that up through your phone, or understanding that like you can really give yourself a voice, and with utilizing these different platforms properly, you can really just propel yourself to heights that you'd never even dreamed of. And that's just something that I really want to be able to do in the future.
Great. Absolutely. It sounds like you guys definitely have an understanding, more so than, than most, because you've taken the time to kind of carve out what it is that you think you want to do, and a way to give back to your community, or to any community, the tools that you've been given through having the opportunity to be a college student, and to go through that process, and to utilize your skills and all of the things that you bring to the table to be able to give back in that way. I think it's just amazing, because look, you could be 50 something and still not know exactly what you want to do when you grow up. So getting your foot in the door is the most important thing, and finding your space, and what it is that you want to do. um that's going to make you feel the most fulfilled, and doing the thing that you love, so thank you guys for that. And it's hard for me to, to not talk about this, because it has been such an impactful event in all of our lives. um, since March 2020, we've all been dealing with the pandemic. um, and that was a really kind of abrupt kind of event that happened to all of us, like not all of a sudden, but it was an impact that felt like it happened all of a sudden. And for you guys, I guess it actually did. What was that experience like for you as college students, to 1 week be in classes, having your, college experience, and then to be told, okay, you got to pack your bags and you got to be gone by the weekend? What was that like for you guys?
Let me tell you something. It was like a smack in the face. Like, I'm gonna be 100% honest. I remember it like it was yesterday. I was in my room doing homework, and we had just half of the campus had left, and we had gotten an email saying, you can't come back. Those who are on campus, you need to leave by Saturday. I didn't know how I was going to get home. Like, it happened so fast. And it was very frustrating, because I remember sitting on my first Zoom class, and I was just like, what is this? We shouldn't even be having school. Like, I want all my money back. Like, this is ridiculous. This is not the experience that, so many people have told me about. Like, the first 2 years, okay, that was great. I was on campus. I was, living my best life on my own, thinking I'm an adult. And then now I'm home. I'm back home. My mom possibly, because she's from Haiti, she doesn't understand. She's like, well, can you go to the store? Can you do this and that? And I'm just like, well, I'm in class. There was no privacy in my house. Like even me talking and my other sisters in class too, like it was just so much going on. And I was just like, well, why is this happening? And I felt like I wasn't getting to a dark place, but I was getting upset. Like I was so just like, well, how am I supposed to, fulfill my dreams and aspirations because of this pandemic? How am I supposed to do this internship that I had over the summer? It all went crashing down. And I'm a visual person. So virtually, I was just like, not saying anything in class. When the teacher asked a question, Yama, you have something to say? I said, nope. Can I have my money back? Nope. Like, all of this types of things. And I think, Richard and Lily, feel free to jump in, but I feel like you felt like no one was graduating. Like, I feel like I was just like, well, this is it. Like, I didn't even finish my year, So that's how I felt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. Oh, sorry, you can go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with Yama. I was actually on an internship when that happened, and when everything shut down, I had to go back home and stop working. And I just remember feeling stuck, that like sudden like stop of like nothing was going on, and then going back to classes, it felt like there was a huge sense of missing out, especially since some of my classes were meant to be hands-on. It felt like I wasn't able to get the quality of education that I deserved, especially what Yama was mentioning before.
Absolutely.
Yeah, with that feeling of missing out, just because it was my freshman year, I hadn't even had a full year in college, hadn't had that same experience of like just a spring on campus. So it was pretty much the end of the winter term, just because Dartmouth separated into 4 terms instead of 2 semesters. And so we were just taking finals. And like that, the campus was like, you need to all pack your bags and you need to take what you can and go.
Mm-hmm.
And there wasn't necessarily that aspect of like, when are we going to come back? Like a lot of people had thought, okay, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, we'll be back on campus, no problems. But it turned into 3 weeks, and then it turned into 2 months. And then the entire spring had happened and we weren't back yet. And so things, I guess, that real sense of adjustment, I think that Yama touched on, of kind of just taking class with your family right there. Just because for me, I have so many younger siblings, it was really difficult to manage class while also, because I was at home, a lot of these responsibilities were being asked of me that I hadn't necessarily had those first 4 to 5 months before I was back home with my family. And it was really quite difficult to adjust to that. But I think now, being a year out from it now, yeah, pretty much a full year out since that had first happened, I think I've grown to really understand that no matter how hard you plan, no matter how much work you put in, like this, things can change. And you always need to understand that the position that you are in, you have to make the best out of it, or else it can really all fall apart. And I think that's just something that we all learn through life, but this pandemic pretty much brought everybody to the same sense of, yeah, at any point, things could change.
I 100%.
No, go ahead.
Sorry, I 100% agree with Richard. The fact that, I feel like this pandemic had taught us, like, you need to slow down. Like, let's figure things out. Let's figure out our futures. Like, I feel like everything was happening so fast. Like Richard said, like I started off freshman year and boom, we had to go back. And I think this is now, I think, a lesson in terms of like, okay, well, this pandemic started and we're all at home. We're all doing classes. All right, like this is the time to get to know ourselves again, educationally, and just being able to, deal with this mess. But how do we get out of it? Like, how do we, still go towards our dreams? whether it's architecture, computer science, or like sociology. Like, how are we still able to help our community, and we as people of color, how are we able to still spread the word of what we want? So that was good.
Absolutely. And it sounds like, in tying all of this together in like a nice little bow, if you will, do you all think that all that you learn in your experiences coming up through the program from fourth grade all the way to 12th grade and in the CSI portion of steps right now, what is that taught you? What has the pandemic taught you about yourself and what you've learned through being a STEP student and how to move forward through adversity? And we'll start with Richard.
Ooh, Tony, you got the tough questions. um, whew, I think Steps has really made it so that, not to say that I had to understand a lot very quickly and almost grow up quickly, but I was almost like, it was such a large adjustment, like being away from home, and then within like 6 months being right back home, and like that change of all of these new responsibilities are coming into life, of like managing social life, managing clubs, activities, different campus events, and then also managing classes. So
Mhm.
then all of that being compacted into, I have to manage class now with my family in the other room, like right there. And so I think Steps has really taught me to understand that planning and really just creating a space where you feel that you can best succeed are just so important.
Mhm.
Just because with Steps, we had advisors, we had the community around us, and it really cultivated this environment where, yes, like I know I can succeed, I know I got this. And even though we were all in this together at the beginning, it was really difficult because nobody knew how deadly this virus was. Nobody knew what could happen next. Like if like the entire streets were going to be shut down, like nobody really knew at the beginning. And it really placed us in a scenario where we really had to go back to that self-determination of, regardless of what happens, I'm going to figure this out. And I think Steps taught me that at a very young age, that many people around me have, but I don't think they have it in the same way that some of us were able to learn it at such an early age through Steps.
For me, I think Yama mentioned it a little bit earlier, which was looking for resources and finding and being able to use your resources. For me, after high school, I think I went to look for a type of program that would be similar to STEPS, just to get that community sense back. Um, yeah, it's just that using your resources well and being able to find people that will help you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I 100% did the same thing as what Lily did, in terms of finding that sense of community. Even though my community was at home, on campus, like, okay, how can I still get the same resources that Steps did me? It may be a little it may be slightly different, but how can I use that, to push my goal to graduating, to coming back and be like, hey, Steps, I got my diploma. That's it. Like, and I agreed with what Richard had said, was like, it was a huge adjustment, 100%, but definitely Steps did teach us, like, okay, well, you have a minor setback, what are you going to do about it? Like, how are you still going to push yourself? And I think even the pandemic, knowing it was bad and it was terrible, there was still good in it, because I got to be able to be like, all right, so this was just, a small adjustment, even though it was huge. I'm still going to keep going. Like, I'm going to push myself. I'm going to get the resources and advocate for myself. I'm going to have these Zoom calls with my advisor and be like, all right, well, I'm still here. I'm just at home. What can I do to do this and that? To fulfill my goal into graduating, to being a part of an internship online if it's virtual. Like, I think that's what Steps is really about, is to be like, all right, well, we're here to help you. We're going to hold your hand, but at some point we're going to have to let you go, but we still want you back. Yeah.
Absolutely. That is wonderful, guys. I tell you that you three are definitely like the epitome of what we are trying to, our mission, if you will, our vision for our students. And you three embody that. You found that I am the determiner of my future. You have been given the tools by Steps to Success to know how to overcome and to get over obstacles and hurdles. It sounds like you have found your place in college and you know that you belong there, that you're not an imposter, that you were chosen by the schools that accepted you, and you now have found your footing and your ground, and you've made that institution your institution. And with Steps being, in that mix, it's part of that tree, if you will. You have your roots, you have your trunk, and you have your limbs and your leaves. So it's all that growth that you all have had that has made this journey possible, and that you know that you are well within your rights to earn that degree. And I just thank you guys for sharing your time with me today, and all of the great people of Steps and the Brookline community. I really appreciate you guys, and thank you so very much.